All right, Shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us this truth. And Shalom to the hopeful elect, the Akim and the Akwaf, scattered around the four corners of the globe, according to biblical prophecy, that would return to the obedience of the scriptures in the latter days, right? Coming looking like, heathen in some cases, coming looking like your typical Israelite, right? Regardless, all right, it's the spirit, that resonates with this word ultimately, right?
Okay.
So that's who these lessons are for, all right. And in this lesson, we want to touch on Genesis chapter 3, and specifically who or what was the serpent, right? Because this is a long, age-old myth, okay, that has been perpetrated by the Roman Catholic Church, by the Christian Church. All right. And ultimately, it's a cunningly devised fable, but it's really not even a cunningly devised fable. I won't even give it that much credit. Really,
Mhm.
it's a stupid. It's just stupid, you know. But that shows you the power of the Rakak Wadash. It took the Lord sending down the Spirit from on high to help us understand that wasn't what the Scripture was talking about. The Scripture wasn't actually talking about a real snake slithering around on the ground. All right, going back and forth with Eve in the garden. And Thawadi how about Shem Shai for opening up our eyes to be able to fully understand. Okay, this topic, which is what we're about to go into. You know, so without further ado, if you had anything, brother, we can open up with that. If not, I'm finna just roll.
Now we can go ahead. Let's get it.
Kind. Let me share my screen real quick. Can you see my screen?
I can see it.
Kind. All right. All right. This is Genesis chapter 3 and verse 1. All right. And I'm gonna read slow. It says, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord had made." Right. And before I even go any further, just to give a context of this chapter, right? This is obviously in the beginning. All right. Because when you read Genesis, the first chapter, right, it goes into the heavens and the earth being created, all right, under the jurisdiction of, Yahweh Shai and the angels and Elohim, the
Mm-hmm.
powers, right? And then in chapter 2, it continues on from there, going into man being created, you know, after the image, of, the angels. And then, Adam being selected out of all the people on the planet Earth to receive that breath of life,
Mm-hmm.
which was the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, you know, uh, of the Most High, and of the creation, which he then, goes on to pass down to his lineage. When you read these chapters that we're going into, all right. So just to give some brief context, but this is a Genesis 3 and 1, all right. And right here, essentially, this is the beginning of the fall, so to speak,
Yep.
or the beginning of Adam. Specifically, Adam and his descendants, their downfall, right? That's what this chapter is going into. All right, and like it says in what is that? I forgot what that is in Sirach, where it talks about by the woman was the beginning of sin.
And through her we all
Right?
die.
Yeah, through her we all die. Matter of fact, since I quoted it, we can hold that on deck. You know what I'm saying? Because that's gonna have to come out. You know what I'm saying? And this isn't a lesson about the woman,
There's
but
25, 24, Sirach.
25 and 4.
25, 24, Sirach, Salakia. Yeah.
Okay. You mind reading it for me?
Yeah, Khan, I'll read it. This is Sirach 25 and 24. Of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die.
Mm-hmm.
And that's written plain on tables. Eve was gadding abroad basically in the garden. Adam didn't, keep an eye over his woman, for lack of a better word, and she was beguiled by this serpent, is what the scriptures call him. But we'll get into exactly what that is or who that is.
Ooh,
Um,
that's the
but yeah,
spirit.
yeah, and in doing so, all of mankind had to die, because of that, chiefly the elect, Israel. But yeah, so so much for following after your woman.
Yep, yep. And that's the spirit. I'm gonna bring that precept out that you quoted because I had it held. But
God,
that's it's good just to go ahead and get it now. This is
yeah.
2 Corinthians 11:3. But it says, "But I fear lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through
Mm-hmm.
his subtlety, so your minds should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Hamashiach." Right. So there's a few points in this. For one, the serpent that beguiled Eve, it says clearly his subtlety,
Mm-hmm.
right? Referring to the fact that he was an actual man, he was an actual person on the planet Earth. He wasn't a damn snake,
Right.
all right? And then the simplicity in Hamashiach, right? That simplicity links up, that goes all the way back really to the garden because it tells you what is in that second Ezra 3, right? The Lord gave Adam very simple instructions.
Yeah.
It wasn't a super complicated message, that the Most High gave to Adam. However, things had to play out according to prophecy.
God.
So, matter of fact, I don't want to get too much off, but I want to read this real quick. This is Second Ezra chapter 3, and matter of fact, let me pull it up. This is Second Ezra chapter 3 and verse 7. And it reads, it says, and this is speaking about Adam, right? It's giving it's basically giving a synopsis of what we're about to read in Genesis,
God.
right? But verse 7, it says, "And unto him thou gavest commandment to love thy way." That's the simplicity, right?
Yep.
It says, "Which he transgressed, and immediately thou appointest death in him and in his generations, of who came nations, tribes, and kindreds out of number." Right? So just like we're about to read this, the fact that Eve was beguiled and that Adam hearkened unto that situation, that dynamic, that led to the situation that we're in today. That everything we're going through, everything we're experiencing, being in captivity, all right, is all a derivative, if you will, of what we're about to read.
Mm-hmm.
So
Can I just get a real quick precept? This is Wisdom of Solomon 2:24. Nevertheless, through envy of the devil came death into the world, and they that do hold of his side, do find it. So that's just laying back on the Sirach 25 and 24. Because of the envy of the devil. Now we'll get into that, exactly what that is, but just lining up the precepts. It's because the envy of the serpent. We know a snake can't envy, right? So this has to be something that has not that's of human substance. But you got it. I just wanted to bring that out.
nah, that's a good precept too, because again, it shows you that what we're reading in Genesis 3 from the serpent, it was a power move.
Yep.
Right? It was a power move because when you read Genesis 2, or when you read about Adam receiving the breath of life, the breath of life was power, man. Adam was ruling the planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the serpent did what he did. It was a calculated plot, okay, by him to subvert, Adam's reign, if you will.
Yep.
So this is
Yep.
back in Genesis chapter 3, and it says, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahweh Shem Shai had made." And I'll stop right there,
Yeah.
right? Because
Before you do, can I just get that word subtle?
Babak Shah.
Yeah, just and that you can just you can expound on it. But this Hebrew word 6175, it's afrum, and it's subtle, shrewd, crafty, sly, sensible, prudent. right?
Yeah.
As opposed to, it's an opposition, basically. Right? All these things are not the characteristics of a damn reptile snake. But
Well,
you got it. I just wanted to bring that out.
nah, that's it, and that links up. That right there, that word is what you can use to link up to Esau, Edom,
Yep.
in other scriptures, right?
Yep. Yep.
Genesis 25 and 27, when it
Mm-hmm.
talks about Esau being cunning,
Yep.
all right? Ezekiel 28 and 3, right, where it talks about how he's wiser than Daniel,
Yep.
okay? And I have actually have those, so we might come back to them, but the point is the scriptures are specifically talking about a certain man or nation of people, all right, when it's talking about the serpent and it's listing off his characteristics, subtlety,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Because when the Lord created the nations, right, when he created the nations, which are likened unto the beasts of the field, that's what we're about to get into as well. He gave every nation is different, right? The Lord, when you look at creation, when you look at, the nations, when you look at plants, animals, all right, the stars, there's a great variety amongst all the creation of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai.
That's right.
So he's describing the serpent, and he's using an allegory, he's using imagery to describe the nature of that particular nation. Now, to prove that, I want to get I'm gonna pull this up real quick. This is Ezekiel chapter 34, because a key term in this first verse is beast of the field, right? When it
Mm-hmm.
says more subtle than any beast of the field, okay, that's talking about the other nations. And let's prove
Mm-hmm.
that. This is Ezekiel chapter 34 and verse 8. All right, it says, "As I live, saith Yahweh Shem Shai, surely because my flock became a prey, and my flock became meat to every beast of the field," right?
Mm-hmm.
And this again, I gotta pull. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Before I
No,
even
no,
read that, let me get. Did you have some?
no. You got it. Yeah, I was gonna pull something here, but I'm gonna put. But go ahead.
Kind. I
Let's
was
talk.
just gonna read this real quick, right? This is Jeremiah 50 and 6. It says, "My people have been a lost sheep. Okay, their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place." Okay, and the reason I wanted to pull this, because again, this is the same imagery using animals, right, to
Mm-hmm.
describe people. It says, "My
Mm-hmm.
people have been a lost sheep," talking about the nation of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go back to Ezekiel 38 and 4, when it's talking about my flock, it's talking about the nation of Israel,
Mm-hmm.
all right, and it's talking about the other nations. Okay, so let me read that again. It says, Ezekiel 34 and 8, it says, "As I live, saith Yahweh Shem Shai, surely because my flock became a prey, and my flock became meat to every beast of the field,
Mm-hmm.
because there was no shepherd, neither did my shepherds search for my flock, but the shepherds fed themselves and fed not my flock."
Mm-hmm.
Right? Going into the fact that all the other nations are eating off of Israelites.
That's
Okay.
God.
This entire world system doesn't operate, it doesn't function unless you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans go to work, right?
Yep.
And make this kingdom function, you
That's
know?
right. If I may add, and just to give a more proper understanding as we're dealing with Genesis here, like the priest said, when the Lord, put Adam down and he breathed that breath of life into him, which was the inspiration of Yahweh Yahweh Shah, it gave life. Because before then, all people of the earth were considered beasts. And I got a precept here. This is what King David said. This is Psalm 73 and 22. And it says, "So foolish was I and ignorant. I was as a beast before thee." Okay, because this is talking about before you, without the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, that breath of life that was given to Adam in the beginning, we are all beasts. Because what that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding does, it gives you order, right?
Yep.
So you function properly. So you are upright. You operate in the image of Yahweh Yahweh Shah. Without that, you are considered dead or a beast or an animal. So that's why it says all the beasts of the field being the world. You can get that in Matthew 20, the 24th chapter.
Mhm.
So just to give a better understanding for those new babes that are coming in, when breaking down particular words. But you got it.
No, that's it, because you're gonna come across that beast imagery
Yep.
when you read other scriptures, right? It talks about, individuals being natural brute beast,
Yep.
right? Because, like you said, bro, the Rakakwadash, the breath of life, that order, that understanding is what separates us
That's right.
from animals, really, right?
Yep.
Because if you're not operating in the spirit, you're operating in carnality.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're operating in carnality, you're just a slave to the lust of the flesh, just like
Mm-hmm.
animals.
Mm-hmm.
So that was perfect precept to water.
Con. Not about.
Okay, let me jump back real quick to Genesis 3. Unless you had anything else.
No, you got it.
Okay, kind of.
Rolling.
This is Genesis chapter 3 and verse 1. It says, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahweh Shem Yashai had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the trees of the garden, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die." Now, in order to understand these couple of scriptures, you're gonna have to realize that the trees in the garden aren't actually talking about, literal trees.
Right.
Okay, so when it's talking about the trees of the garden, it's going into the ideologies and philosophies, of the other nations. All right, specifically of the serpent, right? And a precept for that, matter of fact, just to
Got it.
prove that the scriptures liken men unto trees, we'll get Mark 8 real quick. This is Mark 8 and 24. And he says, it says, and he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking.
There it is.
Right? Now, there's another scripture that you can get too, when you get Ezekiel 31.
Con. I was actually looking for. I have one here too.
Kind of, if you want to hold that on deck,
Yep.
if I can just make a quick point, because when you consider trees, right, like an apple tree, an apple obviously comes from an apple tree, but the apple itself is the end product of the tree. Okay, case in point, right? Um, when you consider like a plant life cycle, right? You
Mm-hmm.
start with seed, all right, and over time, that particular seed or plant, it develops into, its fullness into a tree, all right,
Mm-hmm.
and then it produces fruit. So again, the fruit represent, the ideologies and philosophies, the end result, right, of Esau, right, because Esau was created to be the wicked. He was created, okay, to do all the things that he's doing on the planet Earth. And a matter of fact, I have one quick one, and then you could get whatever you got. Um, this is Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 10. It says, I, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings.
Mm-hmm.
Right? According to the fruit of his doings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So again, the fruit represent, the end result, of a particular thing, right? Because the scriptures talk about, sin, once it's oh man, I forget what that is. I think it's in James. Uh
Roughly phrase it.
where it talks about basically like the process of how sin matures, right? It starts as
Oh,
lust. It's in
yeah.
James.
That's in James.
But you can get whatever you got real quick.
Con. I was just. I think it was probably thinking of the same precept in Ezekiel 31.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, and just again, just talking about the trees here. Now, this here in Ezekiel is specifically going back. He's actually talking about Adam here, and it says Ezekiel 31:9. I've made him fair by the multitude of his branches, so that all the trees of Eden that were in the garden of Yahweh envied him. So you see again, just as the priest brought up, I see men walking as trees. The scriptures talk about righteous trees. trees being envying Adam, being a tree. So understanding that these are all parabolic talk, okay, with the scriptures, which deals heavy with metaphors and dark sayings and parabolic talk, as it's not meant for everyone. But it answers itself as you search through the scriptures, and the Ruach is upon you. So just to get some clarity and understanding, the trees aren't talking about actual trees. Now, in certain cases within the scriptures, they are talking about trees, literal trees, but you have to use the context, and of course, the spirit has to be rocking with you in order for you to understand exactly what that's talking about, so you can line it up correctly.
I got another precept. This is Jeremiah chapter 10 and verse 2. It says, "Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them." Right? And the way of the heathen, okay, that's what was presented unto Eve in the garden by the serpent. The way of the serpent. That's what was presented unto Eve. Right? Wickedness, death. Right. And matter of fact, I forgot Salakia. I forgot in Genesis 3 to get that word serpent. The word serpent.
Gone.
Because I'm pulling it up real quick. This is another proof, okay, that the serpent isn't a literal serpent. Right? When you get that word in the Hebrew, that word is nakash or nakash, and it means or Salakia. Here it goes. You gotta click on this other one. H5072. When you go into that root word nakash, it says it goes into enchantment, right? Enchantment, divine, enchanter. Okay, to practice divination, divine, observe signs. We just read about that in Jeremiah 10.
Yeah.
Learn not the way of the heathen, which are
right. See?
Yep. It says, so again, the serpent is going, this is an enchanter, a witch, a warlock.
Yep.
Okay. That came unto Eve in his subtlety.
Yep.
I'm going to go back and read verse 2 again. All right. Genesis 3 and 2. And it says, "And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, ye shall not eat it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die." Right? So here, this is the spirit. This is the spirit of Esau Edom, right? This is a lion ass spirit. All right. Gonna take the commandment and try to convince you that the opposite is what needs to be done. All right. And that is that links up with Sirach 33. He was created to be that opposing force, that we read about. All right. And a matter of fact, did you have anything?
Yeah. Salakia here. I was actually.
No, you good.
I got a couple of different ones I have to. And this is Job 30, and you have to understand here also. So this is why the Lord gives the actual order when you go into Corinthians, the 11th chapter, talking about the head. Okay, the head being Yahweh, then Yahweh Shai, and then man, and then woman. There's an actual order that takes place. Anything outside of that order is going to lead to destruction. Okay, and so the serpent being very crafty, as we went into and breaking down his characteristics, he knew to go to Eve as opposed to Adam. Okay, because when you go to Job 39 and 17, it reads, "Because God has deprived her of wisdom, neither has he imparted her of understanding." Okay, and the scriptures let us know that the woman is the weaker vessel. Okay, so this is why the serpent was very cunning. It was a calculated move, like the priest said. It was cunningly done. It was very wisely done. He went to the weaker vessel in order to give that to breed that deception, okay, into her. Okay, and because they were out of order, there was no order there. That's how the beginning of the fall came. So I just wanted to add that, and Eve, where Eve was, and just the parable between the two, and how it's very important for men to be men, okay, and know your order, and know the order, and keep the order in your household. Anything outside of what Yahweh Shai has mandated is destruction, man. And this goes on this speaks for today. Elder
Yep.
Apostle Kyle was watching a lesson he was doing earlier today, going into women, and our brothers just need to man up. So it's just a spirit that we're actually going into this and kind of talking about this. But I just wanted to bring that out.
Out the water, bro, because you reminded me of a precept that I wanted to bring out because that's spot on. This is a Proverbs 5:1. It says, and I'll read down to verse 5, and it says, "My son, attend unto my wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
and bow thine ear to my understanding, that thou mayest regard discretion, and that thy lips may keep knowledge. For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her
Mm,
mouth smoother than oil."
mm,
Okay, this that strange woman, right, goes into ideologies and philosophies as well,
yep.
right? Any way outside of the way that was ordained by Yahweh Shem Shai. And you can link this because when you read the account in Genesis 3, the serpent is basically spitting game on Eve, right?
Yeah.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
word is smooth as a honeycomb, or as smooth as oil, like it says right here.
Yeah. He got
Right?
her.
He got her, right? We read that in 2 Corinthians 11:3. Okay, but this is verse 4. I'll read verse 3 again. Excuse me. It says, "For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil." Right? Because everything that the serpent said unto Eve on a carnal level sounded good.
Yep.
Right? And we're gonna actually read that. Let me keep going. This is verse 4. It says, "But her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword.
Mm,
Her feet go down to death, and her steps take hold on hell." All right, and
mm,
we're living that out. We're living out the result of Eve hearkening unto the serpent. We're living in hell right now. We're
mhm.
living in a society in Babylon the Great that is nothing but death and hell.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. That's your
So
path. So understanding, Salaki, just
yeah,
understanding we are in this hell right now today, still continually, because what was done in this account that we're reading right now, Jake.
yep, yep,
All right, that's to let you know also still this Bible, that this book is a living book.
yep,
Right?
yep. That makes me think of that one precept in Wisdom of Solomon 14, where it talks about spiritual when it talks about idolatry. Man,
Mm-hmm.
let me see real
Con.
quick.
Yeah, I'm pulling this. I'm pulling a precept too right now. But yeah.
This is a Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14 and verse um 12. It says, "For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication,
Mm-hmm.
and the invention of them the corruption of life." And that's the point.
Yep.
Right? That's the point. Right? Life has been corrupted on a very high level since what was done in Genesis third chapter.
Yep.
We're living through life, at its lowest vibration. None but dead people walking around. You know,
Yep.
you have something.
No, I mean that's just that's your path. So the scripture says, "He who wanders out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead." So when Adam and Eve wandered out of that way, death became a part. It came onto the earth, man, and everyone in it was wandering and was in the congregation of the dead, man.
Yep.
Right. So, like I said, it goes back to it was a very calculated move going to Eve. And brothers really have to get that in their head, especially in their times that we're in, being gone over your woman. You have to understand the power structure that Yahweh Shah put the standard upon, man. And you have to live by that. Matter of fact, I have and just going to kind of back that up even more with the precept and understanding when you actually, because we can actually get into the actual account here. This is 1 Timothy 2:14. And it says, Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. You see that? So what's sin? Sin is transgression of the law, breaking of the law. So it wasn't Adam that was deceived, letting you know that the serpent didn't go directly to Adam. Okay, he went to his weaker vessel, his counterpart.
Yep.
And Adam following after his woman brought in death to the world, man. So
Yep.
again, going back to being a man and knowing your order in your house and dealing with women. We can't speak about this enough in the times that we're in, especially because the Lord is passing out judgment like there's no tomorrow, and jakes are getting whipped off this earth, man, over a woman. So you have to get your mind in order, man. Get your house in order, man, and figure out what kind of man you're going to be dealing with these women. All right. We're under this curse and this bullshit to this day because of a woman. All right. So I just wanted to add that because it's real. That's just, a couple brothers put up lessons just kind of going into this. So, we can't really emphasize on that enough, but you got it.
Con, bro. This is I'm gonna keep going. This is Genesis chapter 3 and verse 5. It says, and this is the serpent speaking. It says, "For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil." Right, and there was a level of truth to that, because as we know, Esau Edom, he'll just flat out lie sometimes. Most of the time, he'll just flat out lie, but sometimes he'll actually sprinkle in a little bit of truth, just to spice the lie up just a little bit more. And there was a hint of truth to what he was saying right here, because ultimately, according to prophecy, we had to fall, we had to go down in order to rise again. It was all a part of the Lord's plan, going all the way back to the foundation of the earth.
Don, if I might add, and you have to understand that, we didn't know wickedness back then. Okay. We weren't accustomed to anything wicked or evil. Okay. We were, we only were on the light side, for lack of a better word. Okay. But that's why the priest said, which is beautiful and it's true. And, the Lord is raising up kings and priests for the kingdom to come. Right. In order to be a king and a priest, you're gonna have to know both sides of the talent, so to speak. You're gonna have to understand both good and evil in order to be a righteous judge, right? So it's wise in what the brother said, and it's true. The serpent was very slick with the words that he chose here, and even when you go into that word "eat," which I just want to hit on real quick, that's a Hebrew 398, I believe it is, and that word is akal, which means to live by. Okay, because there was a certain doctrine, and we'll get into that whole fruit thing, but there was a certain doctrine that was introduced to Eve, or a way of life in order for her to live by. All right. I just wanted to add that because it's really heavy. This account right here is really, really heavy because it pretty much, ultimately, it's the reason why the world is where it's at today.
Yep. That's right, bro. That's right. Yeah. It was a way of life. Yep. It was a way of life. Yep. This is I'm gonna read Genesis 3 and 5 again, and it says, "For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then shall your eyes be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil." And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. Okay, which lets you know right there that it's not talking about an actual tree. Yeah. All right, what tree can you go and look at and think that it's going to make you wise just by looking at the tree? Like the brother said, it's going into a way of life. It's going into a particular, it was wicked. It was what's the word I'm looking for? Because when we went into that word subtlety, right? Or when we went into that word serpent, right? It broke down how the serpent was basically a witch or a warlock, a divine enchanter. Yeah, right. But he was also very, like Brother saying, he was very crafty. He was very intelligent. All right. There were particular things he was doing that would impress a simple individual. And that's exactly what we're seeing play out in these times now. We see everybody being wooed, all right, and ooh and odd by the technology of Esau Edom. It's the same thing.
When you look at women today too, it's that same they're in that same vibration. It's very easy to woo a woman, show her a little this, a little of that, and she's ready to just break bad. Yep. This is why ultimately, man, righteousness needs to reign back here on earth, and Yahweh Shah needs to come, man. But I just wanted to add that. because it's funny here because this is literally we're looking at the first sign of feminism right here in the scriptures, man. This is pretty much kind of where feminism was born, literally right here within these couple verses that we're reading, man. Because she desired that. She desired to be out of order and to be above her husband, man. To be like wow.
It's like me, bro. It's like me. Okay, I just want to get this for what you said.
Yeah.
This is 2 Timothy 3:6. It says, "For of this sort they which creep into houses and lead silly women laden with sins, led away with diverse lust, ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of truth." That's it. That's the mindset in which Eve was operating under. Right? She was
did the serpent not creep in there and led her captive?
Yep.
Where she was laid up and laden with sin? Yep. You see?
Yep. And I'm gonna read verse 6 again. Okay. It says, "And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband, and he did eat." Okay, so she hearkened unto the game, right? She fell for the game that the serpent was spitting, if you will.
Right.
Okay. But like we just read in 2 Timothy 3:6, silly women they're led astray, they're led captive by their lust. All right. And Eve was led astray, where she was taken captive by her lust to usurp the authority of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua.
Yep.
And that's why the Apostle Paul was going so hard on women, right? That's why he was giving it raw and uncut, okay, to the Israelites that were scattered abroad, because that spirit of woman worship and woman exaltation was heavy. It's heavy amongst the heathen.
Yep.
You know, and that makes I want to pull.
Yeah, Khan, and I just wanted to add, and that's what she desired. You know, and that's the same thing. Each and every time we've come into these different captivities, when you go throughout history, you see Jake, you see Eve. You know, looking at the other gods of the nations and their traditions and all of the wickedness that they do, and they're captivated by it, man.
Yep. That's it. Did you have any more precepts? I'm actually going to wrap it up at verse 6. You have any more precepts?
No, you got it.
Okay, Khan. I'm finished with this real quick. This is let me see. This is Proverbs chapter 26 and verse 28. Right? Because again, we're living out the ramifications of what we just read about. Okay. So this is Proverbs 26 and 28. It says, "A lying tongue hateth those that are afflicted by it, and a flattering mouth worketh ruin." Okay. And that flattering mouth, I'm gonna click on that word flattering. It's edification. Right. That word flattering. Okay. It goes into smooth, right?
Smoother than oil.
Yep, smoother than oil, right? So again, it links back up to what we're going into. You know, the serpent beguiling Eve, deceiving Eve, and the serpent talking about an actual man, okay, and his lineage.
Yep.
Okay, which in these times, all right, is Esau Edom.
Okay.
You know,
and it's really no different than the same newspeak we use now. You know, when you see, you know, you mess with it, you know, maybe you got a coworker that you work with, you're like, man, that nigga's a snake, man. That nigga's a serpent. You know, that's basically, that's all it is, man. You know, it's hip talk. You know, it's not literal in that sense. Just like the fruit, you know, it's not literal. It's a doctrine, you know. So, you know, just understanding, you know, the parables, metaphors, within the scriptures will give you a better understanding on actually what you're reading, and you get a better understanding of the account of what happened. And through the Spirit, Abratazah, you get a better understanding on why we are in this position today that we're in, right? Because this is a age-old story from the very beginning that's still taking place right now, right? So, yeah.
Gone, gone. Well, I didn't want this to be this. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. Lord's will. This lesson was edifying. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakodash. Shalom to all the Akim and Zaquan that tuned in. Shalom.
Shalom.